Alright, listen, I literally just got done watching First Take, and I'm still processing everything that was said because Stephen A. Smith was absolutely losing his mind over this Trevon Diggs signing with the New York Giants. Like, you know how Stephen A. gets when his beloved New York teams make a big move, and today was no exception. The man was up out of his seat, he was gesturing wildly, he was going back and forth with Shannon Sharpe, and the entire segment was pure entertainment, while also being incredibly informative about what this means for the Giants going forward. Hey, what's up everyone? Before we dive into everything I have for you today, I need to share something real with you that would mean the absolute world to me. That subscribe button right there. Hitting it right now would bring me one step closer to my dream of reaching 1,000 subscribers. I know you're eager to get into all this content, but real quick, just smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. It's such a simple thing. It takes literally 1 second, but it's honestly the biggest way you can support this journey and help me reach that milestone. Trust me, every single subscription gets me closer to that goal, and honestly, it would mean everything to me. So, do me that quick favor right now and be part of this dream becoming reality. So let me take you through everything that happened because there was a lot to unpack and I know Giants fans are going to want to hear every single detail. Stephen A. opened the segment by declaring that this is exactly what the New York Giants needed to do, and he was emphatic about it. He said the Giants have been searching for answers in the secondary for what feels like forever, and now they've gone out and gotten a legitimate playmaker, a guy who can change games with his ability to create turnovers. Stephen A. was talking about how the Giants have been trying to patch together their cornerback room with guys here and there, but nothing has really worked out the way they hoped. And now, with Trevon Diggs, they have a true #1 corner who can step in and make an immediate impact. Shannon jumped in right away and he was making some really interesting points about the fit. He said, look, the Giants' defensive scheme is built around generating pressure on the quarterback, and that's the perfect environment for a cornerback like Diggs. When you have guys up front who can get after the passer, it means your corners don't have to stay in coverage for an eternity. They get opportunities to make plays on the ball because the quarterback is rushing his throws, making bad decisions under duress. And Diggs, with his elite ball skills and his instinct for reading quarterbacks, is going to feast in that type of system. But here's where the discussion got really spicy, and I have to tell you about it because it was one of the highlights of the entire show. Stephen A. brought up the rivalry aspect of this signing, and man, he was loving every second of it. He pointed out that Diggs is coming from the Dallas Cowboys, the Giants' division rival, and now he's going to be playing against his former team twice a year. Stephen A. was saying that this adds an extra layer of motivation for Diggs, because you know he wants to prove that Dallas made a mistake by letting him go. He said there's nothing like facing your old team and showing them what they're missing, and Diggs is going to have that opportunity every single season. Shannon agreed completely, and he added that the NFC East rivalry games are always intense, but when you have a former Cowboy now wearing Giants blue, it takes things to another level. He was talking about how those matchups between the Giants and Cowboys are going to have even more heat now, because Diggs is going to want to ball out against his former teammates. Shannon said he fully expects Diggs to have some of his best performances against Dallas, because that's just human nature. You want to prove the people who doubted you wrong, and Diggs has the talent to do exactly that. Now, one of the things that really stood out during the show was when they started breaking down the Giants' needs at cornerback and why this signing makes so much sense. Stephen A. was going through all the moves the Giants have made in recent years, trying to address the secondary, and he was making the point that they've been throwing darts at the dartboard hoping something would stick. They've brought in various players, some have worked out okay, others have been disappointing, but they've never really had that true shutdown corner who opposing offenses have to game plan around, and Trevon Diggs gives them that. Shannon elaborated on this by talking about Diggs' resume. He said this is a guy who led the entire NFL in interceptions with 11 picks in a single season. That's not just good, that's historically great. Shannon was pointing out that very few cornerbacks in the history of the league have put up that kind of production, and even though Diggs has dealt with some injuries since then, the talent and the instincts are still there. He said you don't just forget how to play football at that level, you don't lose those ball skills overnight. Diggs knows how to make plays, and the Giants are banking on him being able to do that in their system. They spent a significant amount of time talking about the coaching staff and how they might utilize Diggs, and this is really important context for Giants fans. Stephen A. mentioned that the Giants have brought in some new coaches who have experience developing and maximizing cornerback talent. He was talking about how the right coaching can make all the difference for a player, especially one who's coming off some injury-plagued seasons. If the Giants coaches can get Diggs healthy and keep him healthy, and if they can put him in positions to succeed, Stephen A. said there's no reason he can't get back to his all-pro form. Quick pause for a second. If you're enjoying the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. It only takes a second, but it really helps the channel grow and gets us closer to 1,000 subscribers. Your support means a lot. Now let's get right back to the video. Shannon made an interesting point about versatility as well. He said Diggs has shown throughout his career that he can play different roles in the secondary. He's primarily been an outside corner, but he has the athleticism and the intelligence to move around if needed. That kind of versatility is valuable for a defense because it allows the coaches to be creative with their schemes. They can move Diggs around to create favorable matchups. They can use him to take away specific receivers. They can deploy him in different ways depending on the opponent. Shannon said that's a weapon that the Giants haven't really had, and now they do. One of the most compelling parts of the discussion was when Stephen A. started talking about what this signing means for the Giants' identity as a team. He said for too long, the Giants have been seen as a franchise that's rebuilding, that's trying to find its way, that's not quite ready to compete with the best teams in the conference. But moves like this, signing a former All-Pro cornerback who has the talent to be one of the best in the league, that's the kind of move that contenders make. Stephen A. said the Giants are signaling to the rest of the NFC East that they're not content to just sit back and let the Eagles and Cowboys dominate. They're coming for that division title, and Trevon Diggs is a huge part of that push. Shannon agreed, and he brought up the importance of making a statement in free agency. He said when you sign a player of Diggs' caliber, it gets the attention of the entire league. Other players see that the Giants are willing to go get elite talent, and that makes the organization more attractive as a destination. Shannon was talking about how winning breeds winning, how success attracts success, and how moves like this can create a snowball effect where more good things start happening for a franchise. He said the Giants are hoping that the Diggs signing is the first domino in a chain of positive developments. Now, let me tell you about the concerns that were raised, because the panel didn't just gloss over the potential issues. Molly Karam brought up the injury history, and she asked some pointed questions about whether the Giants are taking too big of a risk here. Stephen A. acknowledged that yes, there are legitimate concerns about Diggs' durability. He's dealt with some significant injuries over the past couple of seasons, and anytime you sign a player with that kind of history, you're accepting a certain level of risk. But Stephen A. also made the counterpoint that the Giants desperately needed help at cornerback, and Diggs represents the kind of upside that you rarely find available in free agency. Shannon added some nuance to this discussion by talking about how the Giants can manage the risk. He said smart teams don't just sign players and throw them out there without a plan. They develop strategies for managing workloads. They build depth so that one player doesn't have to carry the entire burden. They create situations where players can succeed without being overworked. Shannon said if the Giants are smart about how they use Diggs, if they give him rest when he needs it, if they rotate other corners in to keep him fresh, then they can mitigate some of the injury risk while still getting elite production from him. They also spent time discussing the contract structure, and this is where things got really interesting. Stephen A. was speculating about what kind of deal the Giants might have given Diggs, and he was making the case that it's probably a prove-it type contract. He said given Diggs' injury history, the Giants would be smart to structure the deal in a way that protects them if things don't work out, but also rewards Diggs if he returns to form. That kind of incentive-laden contract aligns the interests of the player and the team because both parties benefit when Diggs plays well and stays healthy. Shannon agreed, and he pointed out that this is actually a good thing for Diggs too, not just the Giants. He said Diggs gets the opportunity to bet on himself to prove that he's still an elite cornerback, and if he does that, he'll cash in with either a big extension or a huge contract somewhere else next offseason. Shannon said players with Diggs' talent love these kinds of situations because they know they have the ability to perform. They're not scared of prove-it deals. They embrace them because they're confident in their own abilities. One thing that really stood out to me was when Stephen A. started talking about the culture and mentality that Diggs brings. He said this is a player who loves to compete, who loves to celebrate big plays, who brings energy and enthusiasm to the field. And for a Giants team that has sometimes looked flat or uninspired, having a guy like Diggs who can inject some life into the defense is huge. Stephen A. was saying that swagger and confidence are contagious, and when you have a player who plays with that kind of fire, it tends to rub off on his teammates. Shannon built on this by talking about leadership in the secondary. He said the Giants have a young defensive backfield, and having a veteran like Diggs who has been to the Pro Bowl, who has been named All-Pro, who has experienced success at the highest level is invaluable for those young players. Diggs can teach them how to prepare, how to compete, how to handle the mental aspects of the game. Shannon said that kind of mentorship often doesn't show up in the stat sheet, but it's incredibly important for building a championship caliber defense. The panel also discussed how this signing affects the rest of the Giants' offseason plans, and this is crucial context for understanding the bigger picture. Stephen A. mentioned that with Diggs now handling the #1 cornerback duties, the Giants can focus their remaining resources on other positions of need. He was talking about offensive line, interior defensive line, maybe adding another receiver or running back. The point is that signing Diggs allows the Giants to check a major box on their to-do list and move on to addressing other areas. Shannon pointed out that the Giants still have work to do, and he rattled off a list of positions where they could use upgrades. But he also said that's exactly what you want as a front office. You want to knock off the biggest needs one by one, methodically building your roster until you have a complete team. And the Diggs signing is a significant step in that process. Shannon said he's impressed with how the Giants have approached this offseason, and he expects them to continue making smart moves in the coming days and weeks. Toward the end of the segment, Stephen A. made a prediction that got the whole panel buzzing. He said he expects Trevon Diggs to have at least 6 interceptions for the Giants this season if he stays healthy. 6 picks would put him among the league leaders, and it would validate the Giants' decision to sign him. Stephen A. was saying that the combination of the Giants' pressure-heavy defense and Diggs' ball skills is going to create a lot of opportunities for turnovers. He said opposing quarterbacks are going to try to avoid Diggs' side of the field, and when they do test him, they're going to pay the price. Shannon said he wouldn't go quite that high with his prediction, but he agreed that Diggs is going to make a significant impact. He said even if Diggs gets 4 or 5 interceptions, that's still elite production for a cornerback, and it would justify everything the Giants are investing in him. Shannon said the key is health, and if Diggs can stay on the field, he's going to produce. That's just who he is as a player. The segment wrapped up with both Stephen A. and Shannon expressing optimism about the Giants' future with Diggs in the fold. Stephen A. said this is the kind of move that can transform a defense, that can change the trajectory of a season, that can turn a good team into a great team. He said Giants fans should be excited because their front office is clearly committed to building a winner. And Shannon agreed, saying that the Diggs signing is a statement of intent from the Giants organization. And so that's everything that went down on First Take regarding Trevon Diggs to the New York Giants. The panel was fired up, the analysis was thorough, and the overall sentiment was that this is a great move for Big Blue. Giants fans have reason to be optimistic because they're getting a former All-Pro cornerback who has the talent and the motivation to be elite again. It's going to be fascinating to watch how this plays out over the course of the season.